All right, I'm sure you've heard that the SAVE Act passed in the House today. Let's talk about what that means and what happens next. Spoiler alert, we can still stop it. First, just in case you haven't heard of it, the SAVE Act, or the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, is a Republican-adored bill, and it would amend the National Voter Registration Act to require proof of citizenship in person every time you register or re-register to vote. Now, Republicans' purported reason for wanting to pass this bill is because the so-called problem of undocumented people voting, which is 100% not a thing. And I know if you're a Republican, you're not going to believe me, but maybe you'll believe the Cato Institute. They're one of the most right-leaning think tanks out there. In an article that they posted just last year, they looked into the rife claims of non-citizen voting, and they found that the likely percent of non-citizen voters in reality in U.S. elections is zero. Zero! So what is this bill about? Voter suppression. Republicans don't want the vast majority of Americans to vote, and they definitely don't want women, young people, and people of color voting. Those are the populations that will be affected by this bill. Also, rural voters, people with disabilities, people in the armed services, people who live abroad, all of them. And of course, there are around 69 million married women who have taken their husbands' names who will find themselves suddenly without proof of citizenship that has the right name on it. But don't worry, Republicans are okay with that. Since just yesterday, they rejected an amendment to the SAVE Act that would have protected those women's votes. This bill, of course, would also disenfranchise about 21 million American citizens who don't have proof of citizenship. They don't have a passport. They've lost their birth certificate. This is the bill that passed today in the House. The vote count was 220 to 208. Every Republican present voted yes, plus 4 Democrats. So some of you may be asking, so is it the law now? But no, it's not, because now it has to go to the Senate, right? And there we've actually got a much better chance at stopping it, because remember, this bill can be filibustered, and we have enough Democrats to do just that. Republicans in the Senate would essentially need to peel off 7 Senate Democrats to support their bill in order for it to overcome a filibuster. And that's where we come in. Our job is to make sure that every single Senate Democrat understands that voting yes on this bill will be politically toxic for them in a way that is really impossible to express. So don't agonize, organize, you guys. We are going to call our senators Democratic or Republican every day until this bill is gone, okay? Here is your script. The voting rights advocates I'm talking to are cautiously optimistic that we can keep enough Democrats unified to stop this bill if we stay loud, so let's do that. Remember all, just because the Republican Party thinks that 90 million Americans should just lose their right to vote doesn't mean that they have to get their way. So let's get on the phones and make sure they understand that we will not be silenced.